Oh, okay. Hi. So I am Ang Chong K from Taipei Municipal Song High School, and actually, we this presentation is made by me and also two other colleagues, but they are not able to attend today. So the title is "Change Begins with Me." Okay, and this is the Chinese 改变世界从我开始. Okay, next slide. Okay, so I'm the one in the middle, in the center, and on my left hand side, it's the teacher Hong Mei Feng, and then on my left hand side, it's another teacher called Xu Jiawei. Okay, so we go back to the first slide. We can see that design for change. It is actually a methodology, a DFC. It's an organization, and it has its own methodology. It has 4 steps, and the color I purposely made it like different. ICAN. So it's the I can mindset. Yeah, we want to students to try to do some small changes. Okay, so how do we start? Because um, from the how it all began, because the professor, no professor, teacher Hong Mei Feng, she is a teacher, what do you call that? Teacher counselor. And then she has a course. The name is called career planning. In Chinese, it's called 生涯规划. So for high school students, they need to take this course. But in that course, what do? They not only just read a lot of information, they need to decide, oh, what do I want to do uh, in the future? So they need to read a lot of information or data, and they need to analyze and also think about their experiences. They need to do a lot of reflection. So how it all began, because when teacher Mei Feng, she studied in NCCU before, she took the teacher education program, and the professor asked her this question, like, how do you all do one thing, just one thing that would make the world a better place? So that one small question, like just it planted a seed. And now she's a teacher counselor. She wanted students to have that like question in mind all the time during this career planning course. So it's because students in Taiwan, especially in the national curriculum, they are used to multiple choice questions, standard answers, and they think that, oh, for exams, it's best to have multiple choice questions because it is fair. Like it's standard. No one can like object. Like because if you have written response, they will think that it's too subjective or what. But actually, I think if we have the grading rubrics or criteria, it should be not so subjective actually. But I don't know. That's the culture. So we students want to know standard answers, and so Sisong Senior High School, it's the first public local high school in Taiwan to offer the IB diploma program. Yeah, here. And I know that in Japan, many schools are also trying to implement the diploma program also in the public schools. Because mostly in Asia, the IB schools are mostly private international schools. Yeah, so and also combined with the 108 new national curriculum, it's a very big change from the previous curriculum. 108 is just the in Taiwan, we say like now it's year 111. So 108 new curriculum is the latest curriculum with a lot of changes. And actually, it models the IB framework. Yeah. So the question is, how do we foster this 素养能力 or literacy or core competencies in high school? So it's actually not easy because we only think that teaching them knowledge is not enough. We need to let them have the necessary skills like soft skills, and also how to have the right mindset or attitude. If you have all these three, how do you make them to inspire them to take action to do that small change? Yeah, we say small change because we think that even though the change is not very big, if it's just a small step, it's good anyway. At least they're willing to try to change something. And with three of us, three teachers, we talk about like in this course, we need to ask students, what is the purpose of education? What do they think? And they say that actually it's to solve real life problems. Then that's a very good answer. Like but they told us that, but by learning the textbooks, we don't think we could solve any real life problems. So we say that we as teachers responded to students. Actually, we could start doing something like, because in this class we don't have like a prescribed materials that you need to finish. You can use the time to do something, but with the help of DFC, Design for Change. And during the process, you can develop self knowledge as well, and to know your position in this world and your relation with other people or the community, or you know and in the process you will also get to know yourself better, prepare yourself for life in university and after university. Yeah, so therefore a Design for Change, DFC, co-planning, class observation, and discussion group is formed. Okay, I don't think we have the time for the short story. It's in Chinese anyway. It's like these two students, when they are in year grade 5 primary students, they use this DFC method. It's like few years ago when DFC was gaining popularity in Taiwan. So they I think they chose an issue related to foreign migrant workers in Taiwan, because they say that when I take the bus, I realize there are some people who look different from us, and they are actually migrant workers from, I think, Southeast Asian countries, and they're like, why they don't speak Mandarin Chinese, and why is the driver being so unfriendly to them? Like 快点, like like you have to fast, like, and then when they ask the driver, uh, uh, how to go somewhere, the driver just no, go 下车，没时间, no time. And then so the children, when they are small, they're like, how can we solve this problem? I think that's a really good starting point, because you see something and you feel something, and you want to help them. So these two students, they're in the video, they're already in grade 8 or 9. So they have a TED talk to share about the experiences and using the DFC method. Yeah, we will skip the video due to time constraint. And so what kind of course is this? Career planning course, but we want students to understand the relationship between human and the world. And as you know, we all live in a global village now. So what can we do to make the world a better place? And this is the mission of our course. It has to be, the change for better, right? Not change for the worse. And we want to we let them have 3 different choices. Like the FC grouping is using the Design for Change method. But however, the other 2 is the name of courses that can be open in local high school. Service learning, in Chinese we said 服务学习. And the third one is self-directed learning, 自主学习. In the new curriculum, these 2 courses are also available. So if they do the DFC method, they can also use the same activity or method for these 2 other courses. And I think that can, they don't have enough time. They have to study so many different subjects. And if they can use the same method and do maybe different activities, I think it's a good framework. They can also gain some. Uh, I think there's no credit for self-directed learning or service learning, but they could take the course, and yeah, it's maybe good for their own experience, and even they can include in their learning portfolio 那个学习历程档案. Okay, so how do we do it in the local public high school? I will introduce the 4 steps later, but for service learning, it's in the, what do you call that? The document, it's written that they have to do 8 hours at least to help others solve a problem. So we recommend them, you could use the DFC methodology, but please, not just for the hours. That's just a reference, like at least 8 hours. We hope that when they choose to do a particular activity, it has to be meaningful. Like, don't just say that, oh, I'm going to clean the beach because I can get the hours. No, that's not what we want. We want them to, like, you have to start from something that's bothering you, and you want to solve it. Yeah, that's why a particular activity you have to plan, and you have to persuade me, like, why you do that. And it has no class credits, so no grades are given, but you still have to do it if you choose this course. Yeah. And so the goal is to give students time and let them decide what they want to do, and to look into and develop their own interests. So it's actually very self-directed, but with guidance from the teacher. So the other course is called self-directed learning, and you can do grouping or teamwork, but maximum is 3 students per group. However, no matter which one they choose, they have to have an outcome exhibition or a final presentation. It can be in person or online if they do a video. So at the end of the semester, and they can also include it in their learning portfolio. So how will it be conducted? In the first two period, we will introduce the DFC method. Like the question is, if something can be changed, just one thing, one problem, how would you do it and how can it be done? It needs to be ethical, right? And yeah, and we introduce the systems thinking, or another way of thinking, like design thinking. Why a particular problem? And when we look at a problem, it's not just splitting it into the small parts. You have to look it in wholes and relationships with others. And we don't just complain, like you said. Why are there dog poop in the public area or in the park? Students will say, oh, because the government don't, or like because the owner is irresponsible. That's not helping, that's just complaining. So we want constructive feedback. Yeah, so we're encouraging students to not just complain, but really to change something and think about the whole problem. Yeah. So in the third and fourth period, we'll just let them plan. After they choose the problem and their goal, they have to develop a plan and they have to go implement it, and maybe even go back to revise the plan. And finally, like, there's many weeks in between where we meet with the students to discuss and check on their progress. But at the end of the semester, they will still have to do the exhibition and presentation. Okay, so actually DFC, it starts because from this owner, the founder. It's called Kiran Birsetti. She's an Indian principal educator of the Riverside School, and she herself is also a designer. So she uses the design thinking method, and now the impact is like in 70 countries are has been using the DFC method, but mostly in primary schools or maybe junior high schools. There's not much data or research information like DFC in high school. So we think Sisong Senior High School, we are also an IB school. We should do something different and interesting as well. So yeah, the impact of DFC is just to cultivate the I can do it mindset in every child so that they can affect the whole society and even the country and maybe, the world if possible. Yeah. And so actually the in Taiwan we have this DFC school challenge, and it's already in the 13th year in Taiwan already. There are so many stories of change that we've collected, but we realize that most of the issues are about like the school. Like for example, the school running track, it's too old or it's not safe. So how should we tackle this problem? So this is related to the school construction and also about environmental issue like cleaning the garbage or trash in the on the beach, something like that. Mostly is, and others are like related to the psychological health, mental well-being, a few about the cultural heritage problem and animal rights. That's just, yeah, not so many. Mostly it's about school and environment. So we hope students can, every year they can do something else instead of just the school environment. Okay. And yeah, service learning is important because I think it helps to develop a moral character, because you do it for service, for free, for like, why would you do it? Why would you help others? You will have some reflection, and maybe something will pop out in your mind. So in the school, they learn about so many subjects and how do they solve the world problem. So we use the DFC. I keep talking about DFC, but what is DFC? Now I'm going to introduce the four steps. So it's FIDS. Feel is the first one. Oh, what's wrong? Oh, feel, yeah. And then the second one, I, it's imagine. And D, do. S, share. FIDS. So feel, the first step is always when we, for example, design a product, we need to design, like understand the consumer's expectation. So now when you want to help others, you don't just think, oh, I want to help to solve that problem because I feel like it. No, you have to understand like if they need your help or not. And imagine like we brainstorm solutions to solve the problems, but of course we have to choose one best or most suitable way to solve the problem. And D is do. It's about creative agency. We don't just like, oh, just spend money to settle the problem. Just ask the government, just call someone. That's not very creative. We can do better. And lastly, it's the share process, which is if it's successful, then how do we inspire others to take action too? So the first part, gather, I like to build empathy. We really need to look into the issue and feel like how would you feel if you were in that scenario. So for example, the systems thinking, like the dog poop at the public area example. Okay, why is there dog poop at public area? Because stray dogs or the pet dogs, they are strolling and maybe, but why do they walk? Why do they need to go to the park to walk your dog? Because to help them stay healthy and they will poop along the way. But why do they poop on the floor? Because there's no public toilet. You keep on asking again. But why don't we build a public toilet for dog? Because it's maybe not that feasible, or maybe it should be the owner's responsibility. But why don't the owner clean it up? Maybe because the owner don't have a bag with them at the. Maybe it's not because he's irresponsible, but he or she couldn't find the plastic bag. So maybe we could just have a public designated garbage bag. Maybe that's the solution. And can you then write to the government or the local authorities? And this is related to the 108 core competencies, like what they learn. Due to time constraint, we're going to move. Yeah, the ideal situation, like how do you solve the problem? It has to be moral and ethical. We don't think of some very bad ways, but which could be effective, but no, we need to be, moral and yeah, one thing which is important when we discuss, students often do this, high school students, they say my opinion is the best. Like what? Well, that's a stupid idea. Or like, don't you use your brain? Like sometimes it's very offensive, but they think oh, it's fine, we're friends. But we think if you could change your practice, we can say like yes. And if I were you, I would, we actually train students how to communicate well and focus on the problem, not to people. Don't say that's very, very weird. You're so silly. No, we don't say these kind of things. You have to change the way of communication and be open and willing to listen and appreciate others' opinion. We could have different opinions and right at the same time. And okay, that's a lot of. So be polite. Yeah, we use open-ended question or dialogue instead of like, it won't work. You could say that, can you tell me more about it? Then he will elaborate and maybe, you get it wrong. It's what that's supposed to mean, but he didn't phrase it correctly. So, okay. And the part when we interact with the real world, when they implement, they have to make effective use of resources because they always say, I don't have enough money. I don't know where to look for help. Or they want to give up, but we can ask them, like, think of your surroundings. Like, yeah, think of your surroundings. For example, do you have an elder you could ask for help? Maybe you know some artist or musician or dancer or designer. They say, no, I don't. But you said, maybe you know, because you live in a community, you have neighbors, you have your teachers, you have relatives or someone barely know, but you could still try and ask for help. But they don't dare. Like, you need to encourage them. And this is just the core competencies and student learning. And lastly, the last part, okay, be confident in sharing. When they did something successful, we want them to share and inspire others. But even though most of the time, they won't do it super well, but at least they tried and inspire action for positive change and future improvement. So this is our sharing, in class, their presentation at the end of the semester. Yeah, we had like for the last 2 years and the different kind of issues that they mentioned. And yeah, we had a lot of surprises, like good solutions for like the transportation problem or the running track. They think it's poisonous, but actually it's not. It's just the coloring and touching moments. Last light. Yeah, this one. So the Confucius say that Confucius, yeah, if students don't feel it, they won't learn it, or you need to inspire them to like feel something first before you guide them. Or so the important part is students' intention and motivation. When we inspire and ignite their passion, so they will start to do something, even though we need more time and guidance on it. So the curricular space and the emotion part, they need to enjoy it. And how will you use your knowledge when you face the world? And when we interact with others, we need to be polite and think of how other feels. That's empathy. And so that they can be lifelong learners to solve problems. When they graduate from university or PhD, they will still face problems. New problems keep on coming. And lastly, Okay, yeah. So this is what happens outside the book. It brings happiness when you make it a ritual, a mindset. Yes, I can, and you always think about others and you communicate politely. I think slowly the change will happen. You know, butterfly effect. If you do something very small, you think it won't bring any impact, but in the future, it definitely will. So just believe it. And sorry for the delay. Thank you. This is about high school, so it's not so much about theory. It's questions.
Yeah, yeah, good,
Professor
good. Yuri?
Yuri. Hi. Okay.
Thank you very much. One quick comment and quick questions. And I think that your discussion is very similar idea that discussed recently, that student agency, so that the student have own goal and achieve, and those kind of the competencies the student need to be get. So I think that's connected to discuss all this maybe very wonderful. And another one question is setting the goal themselves and then achieve that in that the process. I think if insufficiency maybe again happen to student, because really a good goal is set by themselves achieved, and so maybe the teacher appropriately supports the student to achieve the real goal they want set out. So the school also very maybe support that design principle to how to support. I think the general support and also the personalized support, both are very necessary. But if you have
Ah,
some idea, and
okay.
that's that.
The question. Okay. So yeah, definitely. We actually there's the teacher counselor. We are the coordinators, or like we need to facilitate. For example, in this course, if they say that they need to solve some problems, they will discuss with us. And when we said, okay, sure, and you need to develop a plan before you implement it, and we will look at the plan that they provided, and we will give some suggestion and feedback if it's feasible, or if it's too broad and not specific enough, we will give our feedback, and students will try to implement it. And if they have problems, they will go back to us again, and we say, oh, so what's the problem right now, and do you need any help, or you can try to look for relevant resources. If not, then maybe we could like make the target a little bit more specific, or like we it's not always that smooth. Sometimes at the end of the semester, some groups, they don't really succeed at what their initial goal, but something else happened. Like they wanted to do this, but it didn't happen. Something else happened. So I mean, it's a good thing too. Yeah. So and they have to show it in their final exhibition or outcome. Yeah.
Tertiary level, I think. So yes, very good chance. I think. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah. We're planning, we're just giving them like talks by different university counselors, or their seniors come back and share, or they do some psychological tests, and or like if students have some emotional social emotional problems, we like one-on-one session, but we don't do something for the community. Before we never tried it, and so we tried it for the last 2 years. It's like students think it's a bit tiring at first. They're like complaining, we're busy enough, we don't want to do it. But actually during the process, because now we have the 108 curriculum, they need to have the learning portfolio thing. So when I tell them you could do this for your learning portfolio, or for your service learning, or for the self-directed learning, you could use it, and they're like, okay, then they're more willing to do it, because it has no grades or credits. So if they're willing to do something however small, I think it's already really like commendable. Yeah. Okay.